In this video, we're going to change the oil seal on the oil cooler. Okay, so now that the wheel is removed, we need to remove this panel here. So there's a few bolts that hold that. I think those two. There's one underneath here and that one there. Okay, so we can take a closer look at things now. So this is the oil filter. The oil filter attaches to this point here. So this actual oil cooler, it's kind of like shaped like a donut. The main bolt that the oil filter screws onto goes through it. And this oil cooler, it actually has engine coolant. So these two supply pipes have engine coolant flowing through it. And through the center of this donut shaped piece, the oil is able to get into the filter or out of the filter. So what we need to do first is we'll need to put a drip pan underneath to capture the oil. We'll take this oil filter off. I haven't done an oil change yet on this car, but I'll probably still put this old filter back on just to make sure there's no leaks. Okay, so there's a few different tools you can use to get oil filters off. I'm going to try this one here. Okay, so the next step, we need to take out this centerpiece, and the way we get that out, we're just going to use a 24mm socket. It's important that you don't undo these hoses because we don't need to, we're not losing any engine coolant, so we don't want to undo those, leave them connected. So we just need to loosen that up. And then we'll just take this out by hand, and it's this actual piece which holds that oil cooler on there. So some vehicles don't have this oil cooler, and then the oil filter pretty much just fits where this oil cooler is. I believe it has it because it's automatic and supercharged, but there might be other reasons. Okay, so that's what it looks like underneath. So if you weren't using the oil cooler, the oil filter would fit directly to that piece behind. Okay, so the place that the actual oil was leaking from, it's between this actual oil cooler and the actual surface that it sits up against. So if you turn this over, you'll be able to see that there's a gasket there, that orange gasket or seal. That's what we need to replace. So I'll go and grab the replacement one I've got just to see if it is actually the correct size. All right, so just comparing the two, that's the part number, and it's a genuine Subaru seal, and it's meant to be the correct one. But just looking at them, they look totally different, and it could just be the way that this is squished and pressed in. But the actual size, it sort of looks pretty close to it. So we're going to carefully get this old one out and just see what it's like. I'll go and get some oil picks to pry that out because I don't want to damage it if this new one is not the correct one. All right, let's just try and get it out. It's actually very loose in there. Just I was expecting it to be like an oil seal, which would be very difficult to get out, but it's just popped straight out. So we'll clean this over. I still think this seal is a lot fatter than the replacement, but we'll see how the new one fits in. So I'll get a clean rag and we'll get this cleaned up. Okay, so let's just see how this new seal fits in there. I've just cleaned that all out. Kind of seems like it's a bit slightly bigger than the hole, but it does actually fit in there. And this time the actual lip of the seal is higher than this metal piece, unlike the old one. So I'm thinking that if it fits like that, it may be okay. I'll just... Probably doesn't really need oil around there like that because it's not getting tightened on like a filter. Alright, so let's get that back on and then we'll see this little notch here. There's a little spot where it sits in there. Need to make sure it stays in place and then get that bolt in the center. Okay, so that sort of seems like it's sitting how it needs to. So we just need to tighten that up. And it doesn't need to be super tight. It just needs to be tight enough to compress that seal a bit and hold itself on. I think that should do it. And now we just need to get the oil filter back on here. Again, I'm just going to reuse that existing filter for now because it's going to need a full oil change anyway. This filter only needs to be hand tight because if there are any leaks and they're coming from the actual filter or this side of that cooler, we don't care because that's going to get changed anyway. It's just it was leaking from the actual other side. Okay, so what I need to do now is just I'll get some degreaser, spray everything down and clean it up. Okay, so I've cleaned all that up now and wiped it down with the rag. What I'm going to do now is I won't put this cover back on yet because I'm going to change the oil anyway if it doesn't leak. So I'll leave that off for now. Put the wheel back on, lower it down, start it up, and then just see how we go and see if any oil does leak because it's not going to obviously leak straight away. If there are any leaks, it will take overnight for them to appear, and then we'll just observe it and see what happens. Okay, so I've had the engine running for a few minutes and so far so good. So like at this point here, that's where the oil was leaking from before. So it's nice and dry at the moment. There's no oil spills on the ground. That's from a previous thing, but yep. So it seems like it's been a success and it has worked. So the next job I'll need to do now is actually just change the oil, but I'll just make sure, give it a couple of days to make sure it doesn't actually keep leaking, and then we'll see how it goes. Alright, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching my videos.